What's going on, y'all? I know it's been a little while since my last upload. I was hoping to do some fishing before now, but waiting on warmer weather and waiting on the weather to be good just hasn't really played out yet. Next month, if things go well, I'll be in North Carolina for a week, so I'll have a lot of fishing footage from there. But for the meantime, I figured we would tie a fly, and this is something that I had seen on YouTube from the Snake River Fly Shop, and it is the Propaganda Ned Rig Bass Fly. And it's a pretty neat pattern. It's not particularly hard to tie. It's kind of time consuming, and especially when you don't have hand function, spinning the material up is kind of a pain, but I'm going to show y'all how I do it. So I've already got the hook in the vise. The hook is a 60-degree big nymph hook, jig hook. I'm using Vivus 140 power thread. The materials are from Snake River Fly Shop. The first one is the Hydro Hackle, and the second one is the Water Wick Chenille. I'm using medium lead eyes because I'm going to be fishing still water. I'm going to play around with it and see if it's enough weight for what I want, and if not, then I will switch the weight around. But a little update too for the channel. Hunting season's over, so gonna really try to gear up and try to go fishing. Almost at 500 subscribers, so that's pretty cool. Glad that the channel is growing. I know my tie-in videos aren't the most entertaining. I don't think really any tie-in videos are. And for next year, I'm hoping that I'll actually have a camcorder to where I can film better hunting videos. But I appreciate the support, and with that being said, we are going to get in this. So, first material we're going to take is this Water Wick Chenille. And I try to have the thread by the barb, and we're going to get this tied in. The colors I'm using, this is a light or a medium olive, and then a lime, something lime for the hydro. So I'm going to get this tied in all the way back to about the barb. About right there. Make sure it's good and secure. Hopefully when we get up to Carolina, the fish will be hitting good. They were a couple years ago when I was up there in April. Really big bluegill and some bass, and chances at some carp. That should be a good time. I'll just make sure that's good and secure, and then come in with the Hydro Hackle and do the same thing. The Hydro Hackle, it all kind of goes one way. You want to get tied in to where all the fibers are facing the way it wants to lay, which is, for me, it's easier said than done. So I just try to do my best with it to get it laid in and tied in there. But you're just going to tie it directly on top of where you tied in the Water Wick Chenille. And same thing, get it tied back. And then I will go forward with it, trim out my extra. clean this up a little bit and just leave your thread here. Now this is the part that's kind of tricky about it, is you're going to take both of these materials and you want to spin them up really tight. So for me, the best way I can do it is I get it in my mouth and I pull it tight, then I get it with my hackle pliers. Just like that. I'm going to try to speed this part up because this takes a little bit of time, especially with the hackle pliers. But take your hand and kind of run it up on the fibers, get them to stand up, and then you're just going to start spinning. And like I said, I'm going to try to speed this part up for y'all, because it is kind of boring. But before I speed it up, take a good brush, and as you're spinning it, every so often just take your brush and run it along, get everything sticking up straight and furled out to where it looks good. But we're gonna jump ahead and I'll have this cut out for y'all so y'all don't have to sit here and watch this. So I'll be with y'all in a second. Okay, now that we have it spun up nice and tight, I'm going to brush it out one more time. Get my silly legs there. Brushing out, you're just creating a lot of pockets for air to help it stand up. Just go through, give it a good brushing. Take your thread and go back. Okay, now that we have it spun up nice and tight, I'm going to brush it out one more time. Get my silly legs there. Brushing out, you're just creating a lot of pockets for air to help this stand up. So just go through, give it a good brushing. And take your thread and go back to where we tied it in. Now this part's a little tricky for me anyway, because I can't pinch it and hold on to it, but get it lined up to about where you want it for the length of the tail. And I try to just lay. For some reason the camera stopped, so I don't know what was all missed, but we have this tied in. We furled it over itself, tied it in, moved our legs up. I'm just trimming out some of these fibers that are sticking out in the way. We're going to advance our thread forward. Not right behind the eyes, but with some good, maybe 3 lead eye lengths away. And we're going to take some silly legs, and we're going to tie these in with a figure 8. You can use whatever silly legs that you want. These are what I have on hand. These are chartreuse and black bar. But you can use whatever you have, any kind of color combos. What's kind of neat about the hydro hackle, they have it in a lot of different colors, so you can experiment and find a color that you really like, and then just match it with the chenille and silly legs. All right, we got those tied in, so take your thread up to behind the eyes and try to take all your legs here and do a couple loose wraps over them just to hold them in place. And I always take my thread and jump it forward just to help keep it out of the way. And we're using 3 legs on each side. So now we're going to take our hackle and chenille and do the same thing. Gonna brush all the fibers up, get in my hackle pliers. And again, I will cut this out, but we're gonna spin it up once again. And you want to spin it to where it's nice and tight, tighter than you think. It gives a much better body, or it results in a better body. And just try to get all these fibers sticking up. But we'll brush it out, and I will be back. Or I'm gonna spin it up, and I will be back with y'all in a second. Alright, I think we got it tight enough. Gonna go through and brush it out one more time. Just to make sure we're not trapping too much fiber in there and then you're fluffing out the chenille. That looks pretty good. And now we're just going to start palmoring this forward. And you want to try to sweep all the fibers back as best as you can so that you don't trap too many. And just build up a nice little body on it going forward. Once you get to right to your eyes, you're going to take your thread and just back them wraps off. And then there's probably better ways to do it to where you get your legs splayed out more. This is just how I do it. It's easiest for me. Just take your legs, pull them back, and wrap in front of them. Sometimes they get caught up in there, but we'll pull them and get them set where we want them once we get this tied off. And we're going to pull this to the top, grab it with the thread, tie it down nice and tight. I'm going to go ahead and get the hackle pliers out. Oh, let me get a few more wraps on this. Okay, now we'll get the hackle pliers out. And we can trim out the material. Being careful not to cut our legs in the process. Just like so. And then we'll sweep everything back. And just make sure this is locked down really good. Don't want it coming undone while we're fishing it. Now I jump my thread to go more onto the shank of the hook. Do a little thread base, and then I'm going to whip finish it. For me, it's easier to kind of lay sideways. Once you get it started, then you can turn it back again. Legs getting in the way. Try to pull these out of the way real quick. Not the easiest thing to do with no hand function, but just kind of how it is. Learn to adapt. You don't have to go crazy with the whip finish here because this will all get cemented down. Get that on there nice and tight. And we can get our thread out. I trapped some fibers up around the eyes, so I'm going to try to clear these out. Just make sure that when I put the resin on it, that it doesn't make it to where I can't get the line through. I might have to go back with a lighter and burn all that off, but that won't be a problem. Now I use thick resin here, the Solarez thick. If I can grab it. This is something that you're going to be fishing on the bottom, and you don't want it smacking your threads or wearing out a thin resin. So I just put some thick right on the eyes, give it a nice little barrier. just some added protection if you're fishing around gravel or rocks. You don't want your fly getting beat up. Grab my light. It's a really interesting fly. I'm looking forward to fishing them. I think it's a pretty neat tie, and it should work really good for bass. Fishing conventional stuff, I always used to fish a 6-inch worm, so these should work really good. And I take it and I move it to where it's facing up. Just helps me get resin in front of the lead eye. Let's see, get some here. Just like that. We'll go ahead and cure it again. And that way you just have more protection. Gravel, sticks, rocks. Build your flies to last. Make them as tough as possible. Nothing worse than getting out fishing, having a fly that the fish are hitting really good and having it coming apart on you. But there we go. This is the Propaganda Ned rig from Snake River Fly Shop. Like I said, it's a really interesting tie. I think it's kind of neat. And I cannot wait to fish it. For the legs, before I forget, get them set how you want them. Just give them light tug. And then you're just going to trim the very ends of them. Mine are a little uneven, so I'm just going to even them up. And then I'll have to pull all that apart. But there you go. Very interesting little bass bug. Really looking forward to fishing these. Like I said, hopefully next month. I will be in North Carolina fishing in my grandparents' pond. And it is loaded with really big brim. And there's some huge bass and carp. So it's going to be a really good time fishing. If you'd be interested in a video of how I kind of set up for still hunting, especially in cold, let me know in the comments, and I can make one, kind of show what I do to try to stay warm on them really cold days. If you'd like to see a video more in depth of my kind of setup for shooting a rifle, let me know in the comments and I can make that happen as well. But for now, we're going to be done. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you're new. We do this kind of thing. We'll tie, we hunt, we'll fish, all from a wheelchair, showing y'all kind of how I do it. So I have fishing trips planned, just waiting on the weather. But yeah, if y'all like this, give it a thumbs up. Leave me a comment if you have any kind of questions, and I will get back to y'all. But for now, I hope y'all have a good day and hope you enjoyed the video. I will see you in the next one.